All right, I'm going to try to kind of walk you along with what we're seeing here, or what I'm seeing. I'm no expert, obviously, but here's the property from the road, from Knobs Creek Drive. And we're going to go along the railroad tracks, basically. You can see the railroad track right here on the right. Um, so this stuff on the left side of the screen, that stuff that's never got cut. Um, to my knowledge, I don't know what it is in there, but it's not all wet over there to the left. But as we keep on going down the railroad track here, you can, if you look about midway of the screen, you can see the path. That's the right path, what we call the right path. Going back, I'm panning to the left, kind of looking back towards where the path splits. There's some of that tall stuff in the middle there that I mentioned. I'm not sure what kind of tree it is, but I don't think it's all wet there. This stuff right at the bottom in the middle is pretty wet. That runs to the right of the right path. So here we are continuing between the right path and the railroad tracks. That's all pretty wet. You can see the right path towards the middle of the screen. But here we come up. All that those tan top trees on the right is where you get into the cypress pretty good. And there's a couple cypress down on the bottom of the screen here now. A couple more there. But right here is where I would think a logger would want to stop at our path and go straight over to the right towards the railroad tracks and collect every one of those cypress trees. I don't know how many that is there, but I would. Hang on. I'm just kind of looking back towards the road. That's all pretty wet. You can see the path open at the bottom right. Now I'm panning back. All right, so there you see what we call the right path and the railroad tracks. And then middle bottom of the screen, you can see those cypress to the right with the brown tops that kind of run along to the railroad tracks. So I would think a logger would cut over towards the railroad tracks and then collect all those cypress there. I say I'm no expert here. I'm kind of zooming in, but there's 1, 2, 3. There's at least 10 or 12 just in that image right there. And they're all mature. I mean, these are big trees. Kind of hard to tell, but in a minute. Okay. All right, so then middle of the screen, you can see what we call the right path, and then the railroad tracks on the right. And you can see that big row of cypress kind of just running right along the railroad tracks. I mean, I would guess that's probably, I don't know, 60, 70, without counting, I don't know. But here we're going to keep on continuing to follow the railroad tracks in the path. Bunch of cypress we're going over right now. And you kind of see where this path ends right here, kind of in the middle of the screen. You can see that's the end of that right path. And then it kind of winds off to the left. You see over on the left center of the screen, like some tall greener trees. That's some high stuff over there. But I would continue to, hang on. I'm just glancing over towards the river. And I believe there's a lot of high ground right in there because that's a lot of green. I know it's springtime and a lot of stuff's turning green, but all right. I think we're going to start going on down the tracks here. All right, so we're kind of going right over the right path. That's the end there. And still, in between the railroad tracks and that path, you see those brown top trees. Those are all cypress. There's I don't know, a good 15 at least. And yeah, right in there. Not sure what those dead trees are. There's a lot of those. As we get further out here, you'll see them. Um, if you look towards the back, as far as ways you can see where the high ground kind of switches, and you'll see what it's like when we get back there. There's a lot of mature. I've been in there. They are huge. I don't know how tall they are. I would guess 100 and some feet. Easy. I think I was flying at 400 feet here, but so we keep on going. This is where the it's going to be. I don't know anything about logging, but I would think this is where you're really barreling down a lot of trees and having to stack them up to get through because it is pretty wet. Um, but once you get through this little area, it looks like dead trees to me. There is a lot of tall. They're spread out, but there is some big pine trees, and it's hard to tell. And I think I dropped the drone a little lower to try to show a little better. But all that back towards the river, there's a lot of pine trees mixed in there, so it can't be but so wet. Just kind of glancing around here. You can see the end of the path kind of in the middle of the screen, and that big run of cypress there near the railroad track. And if you look back on the river, on the right side, all those are cypress trees that run right along the river. I don't know if you could get to those, but if you could, I mean, shoot. I'd hate to guess how many cypress there are. 200, 300, I don't know. But here I'm just kind of showing you some of the pine trees. This is kind of the start of the high ground. You can see a lot of those dead trees. They look dead. I don't know. Whatever that is. There's a lot of it. But you can see these pine trees are huge. And I know because I went in there off of the railroad tracks and looked at them. Here I'm lowering down some more. And there's a huge one right there in the middle of the screen. Looking back towards the river, all those right along the edge are big cypress. Like I said, I don't think it's that wet through there either. I think you could get. I don't know what it's right on the edge if it gets really wet along that river, but with all these pine trees growing, it can't be so wet. Here I am just cruising along. I think all this is dry. Not saying there might be a wet pocket in there, or heavy equipment might push it down. I don't know, but this is all dry. And some of these pine trees are just massive. They are scattered. And then you see back, if you look towards that boat back there in the river, you can see those huge cypress right on the edge. And I don't know how hard they would be able to get. You may be able to get to them. I don't know. Just kind of cruising around here. So as I pan, look along that edge of that river. And I don't know what the rules are about that either, but some of those cypress are massive. You just see they run the whole edge of the property on the river. But all that, I think all that's relatively dry. I don't know how valuable that stuff is. But you can see those green tops in those trees. Like, those are some big trees. And I'm looking for an airplane right here. I could see a plane near me, so I was just kind of panning around to see if I could see it. And you see in the middle of it, see those light green tops there. They look big. And here I'm just flying back. Again, you can see a lot of pine trees in there. A lot of undergrowth though. And a lot of that, whatever that dead looking tree is, a lot of that too. But here's going back towards the river. Like, look at all those pine trees still. I mean, I think a lot of this has to be high. This is all stuff that hasn't been touched in 60 years. And you see, after that dead stuff, you see the taller stuff, you know, that's got to be higher ground. And if you look at the top of the screen, you can see where that, what we call the right path. Well, now it's upper left-hand corner. There's a nice cypress. See all those big cypress in the back there. I think all that's high right there. All high ground. Now you can see where that right path starts back. It's in the middle there. You see the railroad tracks on the left. We're heading back towards the road now. I'm just doing this so a real expert that knows what they're looking at maybe could see what type of trees they are. If you look at the sun there, you can see the windmills way back there. It's pretty cool. And as we get back towards this road, like I say, I mean, these are some big trees. There's the path. But in between that path and the road, there's some big stuff too. That's all wet. That's pretty wet right there, you can tell. But over there to the left part of the screen, that's not wet. Like that right there doesn't look wet to me.